everybody! Welcome to Pyramid Knits. My name is Liz. I am a knitter and natural dyer, and I am coming to you from my home outside of Taos, New Mexico in the southwestern United States. You can find me on Instagram as Pyramid Dyeworks and also on Etsy as Pyramid Dyeworks. I have a kitten who is 11 months old who is currently trying to bat at the back of the camera. Hopefully he cannot reach it. So, yes, I have upgraded my camera system. Hopefully everything is working the way it should be. If it's not, you probably won't see this. So hey, it is Sunday afternoon here. I am coming to you with an adult beverage because why not? It's Sunday and it's 2021, which just came after 2020, so cheers. And now my kitten is playing in an empty box and getting his head stuck inside of packaging, which is very cute, but potentially very noisy. I am not sure the last time that I recorded, but I think it's been less than a month. It was in January, so I'm doing pretty good. And I just wanted to come to you and talk to you about a little bit of knitting, because I do have one finished object. It's basically finished. I haven't woven and the ends are blocked yet, so I'm saying it's done. And some of my spinning and some of my natural dyeing, and I have a shop update over on Etsy right now, and I'll be showing you some of the new colors I have in there a little bit later. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will tell you what I'm wearing. This is the Cruden vest. This is the pattern from Isolde Teague. Conan. He just scared himself. Oh my goodness, buddy. So since he was being so distracting, I figured he might as well be distracting in front of the camera. Yeah, you want to say hi, Conan? No? No? You want to go get in trouble? Yeah. He's going to go get in trouble. Okay, so what was I saying? I don't remember. Dye stuff, spinning, lots of things. Oh, I'm wearing a vest. I knit this out of my own base, my half pint base, which I have in my Etsy shop. It is all naturally dyed. This was sort of like my capstone project after studying with a master natural dyer for about a year. And she kind of helped me work out the recipes for all of the different colors, and we dyed it up together, and then I knit this vest. So that's awesome. These are all natural dyes. Just really quickly, the main color is dyed with tea, like literally like Lipton iced tea. The browns are walnut. The green is indigo and Osage orange, I believe. The bright yellow is from Kota flower, which is also called Navajo tea. And the blues are different variations of indigo. So yeah, just real quickly, that's what these are all dyed from. I'm really, really happy with this project. I wish that I had made it a little bit longer. My row gauge on color work is really, really off. I've talked about this before. And I always have to significantly reduce the length of my projects. Otherwise, everything I make will just be like miles long of color work. Here's Conan getting into trouble. So anyway, I reduced the length of this vest to try and account for that. But I just feel like it's a little bit too short. I always feel like I'm kind of like pulling it down whenever I'm wearing it. I just wish I had done like one more little motif repeat, just like one section, even just one more skinny section. I feel like if it was just like an inch or two longer, it would be perfect. So anyway, that's what I'm wearing. So finished objects. The last time I showed you guys my Felix cardigan, which I kind of impulse cast on, and I had sort of gotten stuck at the tubular bind off on one of the sleeves. Not that I didn't know how to do it, I just didn't want to do it. So kind of got stuck there. But I am happy to say that it is done now. My Felix cardigan is finished. I need to sew on the buttons I need to weave in my ends, clearly. There's ends all over the place. And it needs to be blocked. So this is going to relax quite a bit with blocking. Right now it fits a little bit cropped, but I know it's going to stretch out a bit, and this yarn is going to plump up quite a bit when I block it. So I think it's going to be just a perfect fit. This project was really one born out of sort of my new intention in knitting. When I was first learning to knit, the reason I chose a lot of projects was because I learned a new skill in that project. I got to learn how to cable, or I got to learn how to steek, or I got to learn color work, whatever. And now that I've kind of gotten through a lot of that, I've been knitting for over 10 years now, I want stuff that I'm gonna wear. There's a lot of stuff earlier on in my knitting career that I just don't wear that often because it's not really my style. And I mean, my style has changed, but also there was so much in like trying to knit something challenging, that all over Fair Isle, whatever, that might just not be real practical with my style. But it was a great skill building project, So I'm kind of beyond that now, and I just want stuff that I'm going to wear. So I used to have a store-bought mustard yellow cardigan. It was thin, it was store-bought cardigan. It was just, I'm sure, cotton and acrylic from H&M, I think. But it was mustard yellow, and I wore it with everything. It just it always matched my wardrobe, whatever I was wearing. Gray and yellow, black and yellow. It was just the perfect pop of color. Neutral and yellow. I love yellow. Yeah. So anyway, I decided to replace it because the reason I replaced it was because my dog chewed a hole in it. He likes to steal my laundry out of the laundry bin. And he doesn't really chew it up. He'll just sort of run around with it. He's trying to get my attention. And yeah, so they look like accidental holes. He probably just chomped on it a little bit and it frayed the next time I washed it, and now there's a bunch of little holes in it. But it's right on the shoulder, and it's just... So, replacement sweater on the way. Hi, Conan. So the yarn I used for this was Harrisville Designs Highland in the colorway Mustard. I bought it on these cones. This is everything that I have left, which is not a ton, but it's reasonable. I could probably use this as a secondary color for a color work hat or something like that. I don't think it's enough to do an entire hat. But it's like a heavy worsted Aran weight. These cones, they're 8-ounce cones. It's 450 yards. And I didn't realize this whenever I bought it, but I was really happy to find out recently that all of the yarn that Harrisville does is grown and spun in the US, which is something that I really want to strive to have more of a local sort of fiber shed going on, but there's not a lot of mills in the United States, and there is a resurgence of people trying to get their mills back online and making more local unique yarns. My cat is knocking everything off the table now. He's just making himself at home. Yeah, but trying to find something that is less of a carbon footprint on the planet. I mean, this still came to me from New Hampshire, and I'm in New Mexico. That's really far. That's really far. If you're European, I mean, that would be probably getting something from Poland if you live in Spain, or further, Portugal to Estonia or something. It's across the country. But at least it's the same country, I'm trying. So whenever I can do that, it's nice to be able to do that. So I was really happy to find that out after I had already bought it. And it's a lovely yarn. It's woolen spun, and it feels quite stiff and crunchy coming off of the cone, but that's one of those things that it's quite unprocessed. So I think after I block it, it's gonna bloom really, really well. And it's just beautiful the way that they've spun this. I'll have to insert a little close up here. There's just little flecks of oranges and reds and greens mixed into this, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I love this color so, so much. So yeah, I need to put on buttons, I need to sew in my ends, and I need to block it. So for my buttons for this sweater, I'm actually going to steal buttons from another sweater. So I knit this, I finished it actually right after I moved to Taos. So it was in 2016 that I finished this sweater. It is the Epistrophe from Kate Davies is the designer. Just try and hold it up a little bit here. And it's a really lovely yoked colorwork pattern with this kind of geometric design. She was inspired by jazz music in writing this, which I really love it because you can just kind of almost see these as audio waves of like the different sort of staccato notes in jazz music. And it was a really fun pattern to knit because it is so geometric. It gets this cool sort of rhythm going on with it whenever you're doing the colorwork. I used Knit Picks City Tweed, I think is what they call it. I remember the main color is called Kitten, because that's really cute. I don't remember the colorway name for the blue, but I love this kind of just muted turquoise with the neutral. I think it's super, super pretty. And it's really, really soft and was pretty affordable because it's from Knit Picks. You know, they make good quality, affordable yarn. I like to buy from them a lot. I used to live up in Portland, Oregon, and their headquarters are in Portland, so I always consider them like my local yarn shop. Even though when you ordered online, all the yarn came from some warehouse in Ohio or something. But, you know, like I knew people who worked there and stuff like that. So I always kind of considered it my local spot. Anywho, so I put these buttons on. I think I put on as many buttons as the pattern called for. But there's 11 buttons on here, and ever since I made it, I have felt like it's just way too buttony. And, I mean, that's partially due to the fact that I bought these kind of fancy buttons. So I spent more on these buttons than I did on the yarn for the sweater. Because I had just moved to this small town in northern New Mexico, and I needed buttons to finish off a sweater. So I went to my new local yarn shop and they did not carry buttons. I went to another local yarn shop, they did not carry buttons. I found a fabric shop that mostly does like sort of thick upholstery southwestern woven fabrics, and they had a little bit of a button selection which were stunning, stunning beautiful buttons. They had this great selection of these silver buttons. You know, it's very, very Taos, very Southwestern inspired. But it also has these diamonds on it, which reflects the diamonds in the motif. And it just seemed like the perfect, perfect match. But they were a few dollars a piece, these buttons. And I bought 11 of them. So yeah, I think like the yarn for the sweater probably cost me like $30 or $35. And the buttons cost $40. So that's a little ridiculous. And then I've just always felt like it's so buttony whenever I wear it, that it's just like flashy and I just have all this metal on the front of me. So then I had the bright idea a few weeks ago, I could just take off every other button and it'll still look fine. And I've been wearing it that way now around the house. I've just been buttoning every other button just to kind of test it out, and it is totally fine with only 5 buttons and not 11 buttons. Or I'm sorry, it ends up being 6 buttons if I do every other button. So I'm going to take off every other button and just sew shut every other buttonhole. And then I'll have 6 buttons on the sweater, and hopefully I'll wear it more often because I won't feel... Okay, sorry about that. My camera ran out of memory. So, yes, I was saying how I'm going to take the buttons, set half of the buttons off of the sweater and put them onto this one. And then I think that will be just great to have some little silver buttons on my new mustard colored cardigan. And hopefully I will wear this just as much as the old fast fashion one that I got from H&M oh so many years ago. So that's my only finished object for right now. I'm not even going to show you any knitting whips because I haven't made any progress on anything else. At least I finished the sweater, right? So I'm going to move on to spinning. I got my first spinning wheel this year for my birthday. My birthday was in May, so what is that, like 9 months of spinning? No. 7? I can't do math. Anyway, yeah. So spinning. I have been doing spinning. I have been noticing, you know, as somebody who deals with depression and anxiety, that spinning really helps with anxiety, like more so than knitting does. I think because it's a full body kind of a thing, you're using your feet and your hands at the same time. And I've really quite been enjoying it. I had some really stressful family times back in the fall. There was some stuff going down. And I spun like an entire skein of yarn in like 2 or 3 days because I just couldn't stop. And it was taking my tension away as I was putting the tension into the yarn. You know, it was great. So I wanted to show you what I've been spinning. I might have showed you some of this stuff before, but it would have been last summer. So I'll go ahead and show it to you again. So this is basically like everything that I've ever spun that's worth anything. And I kind of want to talk about what I want to do with it. Because that's a thing. I was actually a little worried about learning to spin because it's like, well, if I learn to spin, then I'm going to have to knit with hand spun. And I've never knit with hand spun before. And I often find that I don't really like a lot of hand spun because it's a lot of sort of the Barbara pole effect. And it ends up being quite variegated and just like colors all over the place. And like, that's not really my style. So I need to find hand spinning that's going to fit my style. So this is what I've done so far. I think this was the first one that I did. And this is Masham. I got this from the Woolery online. I really, really loved spinning this fiber. I just did it as a regular 2-ply. I ended up with a total of about 300 yards. And then right after that, I did this guy. And the only difference was I did them on a different ratio on the wheel. This was spun at a higher ratio than this one. And I really can feel it that this has much more energy stored in it. It feels a little bit tighter, and this feels a little bit looser and airier. And this, what was the fiber on this? This was BFL, Blue Face Leicester, and I also really enjoyed spinning this, but the Masham was just like a dream. So I've got these two, and they both ended up just about 300 yards. So, you know, 8 ounces each, and they ended up about 300 yards. So I was surprisingly consistent in both of those spins, which is great. So I want to use these together in a project. And I don't know if any of you out there have ever watched the Heather and Hops podcast, but it's really good. It's hosted by Kat, and she is a knitter and a designer living in the UK outside of London. And her husband is a home brewer, hence the hops, so I have a little extra love for that. I have homebrewed quite a bit in my past, but I don't really have the setup right now because all of my dye pots have taken over everything. No room for beer pots, only dye pots. Right, so anyway, yes, the Heather and Hops podcast. And a cat is coming out with a new design that is going to be the Spring Intentions knit along, and it's like a big scarf or wrap, but it looks like it's all just knit and purl stitches. It's all just textured motifs throughout the whole pattern, and I could see where she's going with this. So the pattern is also coming with guided meditation, yoga practices, like community involvement, like trying to get everybody who's knitting it to really share with each other about their mindfulness, about their intentions. And it's really trying to tap into that part of knitting, which I absolutely love. One of the ways that you can meditate is through one-pointed focus. And I have always felt that knitting is very much a one-pointed focus meditation. You can really get engrossed in it and just be focused on that one stitch, the movement of your fingers, the feel of the wool. And that's what this whole project is about really living in that space of knitting, in the rhythm of it, in the history of it, in the shared fiber community of it. So I'm really excited about it, and I wanted to make it out of some special yarn. She's collaborating with I guess she's a dyer and a spinner. It's like a farm in the UK, is doing kits that you can also purchase to go along with this pattern. I'm not in the UK, so I decided that I wanted to make it special and intentional by using my hand spun for this project. So I've got these two colors. It's going to be very, very neutral. I've got these two colors, and I have some leftover white roving that I started spinning up last night to be a third, so I can have a brown, a gray, and white. I have a feeling I probably am going to need to buy some more white roving, because I had already spun half of this up just as practice, like way back in the day. You know, and like this is not even breed specific or anything. This is like the cheapest like practice roving that they had. So I might need to get some more white roving so that I can spin up a couple skeins in white to go with these. And I can work on my Spring Intentions wrap in my hand spun yarn, and I'm really, really excited about that. So that casts on the equinox, which is March 20th, I believe. So I still have, you know, a month to spin up some white yarn to go with this. I might need to put in an order online, but that's all right. Even if it's not done right then, I can always start with these two colors while I'm spinning the third. So yeah, that's the project in the works that I'm really excited about. And other spinning, I do have one other spinning project to show you. And this one, when I bought my yarn for my Felix from Harrisville Designs, I bought some roving from them too. And like I said with that yarn, it is a woolen spun. So their roving is also prepped to be woolen spun. So I've got 2 skeins finished. I have some more on my wheel right now that I have not finished. So that'll probably be a little bit smaller than these two. And I didn't measure out the yardage on this either, because the project idea I have in mind, I don't really have to be that particular about yardage. So I believe the colorway on this is Desert Tundra, and I'll try and get a nice little close-up of this because there are just amazing variations of color in this. It's like this neutral stone colored undertone with a lot of turquoise flecks in it, but then it also has all of these bright neon oranges and yellows and blues, and it's just such a fun yarn. I thought when I got the roving that it was going to end up being a lot more colorful, and it's kind of ended up quite as a neutral, which I was a little bit surprised by. But it's just lovely. And I also have some more roving that's the same style. It's prepped in the same way and it's got the flecks in it, but the base color is a turquoise. So I'm going to have 3 skeins of this, and I could possibly have, you know, another 3 skeins in turquoise. But at least with this, with my first spins, which I know are going to be kind of wonky, because it's my first time doing woolen spun, and I Navajo plied these, also called chain plying. So it's actually a 3-ply yarn, and it's not as tidy as these. It's not as tidy as the traditional 2-plies. It's just one of those things that takes practice, and you know, it's some of my first attempts at doing chain plying or Navajo plying. So there's some spots that look really good, and there's some spots where the tension is just not right. But I want to make some pillows for my couch, some pillow covers, because I know these are going to be weird and lumpy and bumpy. So I want to either just do like garter stitch cushions or like some basic crocheted covers or something, because I know with the woolen spun, with the variation in color, with the variation in thickness, that any sort of pattern isn't really gonna show up with this kind of yarn. So I just gotta keep it simple, because the yarn itself is the texture, is the textured pattern, you know. So yeah, I just want to knit some cushion covers so that I can have some more cozy pillows on my couch. And I think that'll be a great use of some yarn that's maybe not perfect. But I'll be able to, you know, use the stuff from learning. So I'm excited about that too. Oh my gosh, you guys. I just went to go and let my cat and my dog inside. And I realized I'm not wearing my vest anymore. So at the risk of ruining the illusion, my camera card ran out of space. So, oh my goodness, you have mud all over your feet. Stop walking my yarn. Boy. Oh dear. My camera ran out of memory, and I had to offload everything onto my computer, so there was a little break in there, and I got warm, so I took off my vest, and I was like, I just have to remember to put that on whenever I go sit down to record again, and I totally forgot. So sorry about that. Whatever. It's really far too warm in my house to be wearing wool, so that's fine. At least you saw it at the beginning. So I have a lot of new yarn up in my shop right now. And I just kind of wanted to show you what I've put up there so you can see what is new. Hello, Conan Stale. So I've got some new sock yarn in some different colors. And this is US grown and spun wool. Like I said, I'm trying to source that whenever I can. And that is 80% wool and 20% nylon. I have got some new colors in my Aran Tweed base, which is an alpaca wool blend with nice little tweedy nips in there. I've got some new colors in the shop on that base as well. And also on my Rancho space, I've got some new colors in there. These are all nice and tonal. And this is a worsted 100% merino single ply yarn. It is super, super soft and squishy. If you don't have a cowl out of this, you are missing out on life. I'm just saying. So I have big dye plans for spring and summer this year, so I'm really excited to go into that next creative chapter, and please go out and check out the shop. I hope you guys like what is up in there. And I think that's everything for me today. A little bit of knitting, a little bit of spinning, a little bit of dyeing. And hopefully I will be back with you guys soon. I hope you guys are having a nice time wherever you are, and that you're keeping warm and keeping safe. Yeah, things are still crazy, but things are starting to shift. I've got people in my life who have been getting their vaccine, and they're talking about planning trips later this year now. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I doubt I'll get mine for another few months, but that's fine. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just hanging out here in my house and knitting and spinning and sewing and checking in with you guys every once in a while. So we'll keep each other company until we can all leave the house again. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to join you again soon. Please, leave a comment, like, subscribe. I love hearing from you guys. It makes me feel like I'm not just talking into a void. So happy Sunday, y'all, and cheers. Happy knitting.